Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the CCSN podcast. I'm Chris here with Chase. Chase, how you doing today?
I'm doing absolutely amazing. How are you?
I'm doing as good as I can be on a Monday evening. We had a pretty good slate of games yesterday in the NFL. Some pretty good performances, some blown leads. Tell me about it. Would you like? Would you not like? Start it off.
I mean, I think we got to start it off with the Thursday night game because although there was the injury that overshadowed the entire game and made it a little bit less interesting to talk about, we exactly predicted this game to a T. I mean, I locked this game, so I'll be taking my point on that one, despite them being the underdogs in the game. And the Bengals or the Dolphins, excuse me, played pretty much the exact defense we were kind of expecting. Not on the same players that we were really expecting. Now, I knew they were going to double Jamar Chase, which was obvious. They did that the whole game. But instead of T. Higgins, they went with Tyler Boyd. They doubled Tyler Boyd the entire game and left T. Higgins on an island against Xavier Howard. And while Xavier Howard's a great corner, he was getting cooked. And Xavier Howard, he also went down with an injury about midway through the game. And that left pretty much Nick Needham on him. And that was pretty embarrassing for them. Higgins finished with 7 catches, about 125 and a touchdown. That's a pretty great game, I'd say. And I think this is the game that gets the Bengals back on track. What people were worried about with Joe Burrow throughout the season is that he's only ever been good against the blitz. And the Dolphins, they did not blitz that much. Although they're a historically great blitzing team, they played a lot of that double up coverage with 2 deep safeties. And Burrow picked it apart. That was one of Burrow's best games of the season, and that's very indicative of what I think we're going to see going forward from Joe Burrow, and pretty shutting up the haters there, because there have been a lot of Burrow hate.
Yeah, it was definitely a great win for the Bengals and Joe Burrow. This week we have the Ravens versus the Bengals. It's a big game for both of them, big division game. I think it's going to come between those two guys who are going to end up taking the division. The Ravens, though, this week.
I hate saying it, man. The Browns, they're 3-1, and they've got the it coming back. And
Yeah,
I mean, they got a real shot to win the division, man. They're first in the division right now with Brissett leading them at quarterback. Nick Chubb looks literally like Jesus reincarnated, kind of. And then you've got Kareem Hunt, who's great in his own right. Their wide receivers, Amari Cooper, he's still incredible as much as he's getting paid. Yeah, and their defense, it looks good with Myles Garrett coming back. I don't know, man. I think the Browns got a chance.
I like a lot of pieces on the Browns, but you also got to look at who the Browns have played. They've played the
That's fair.
Panthers, the Falcons, the Jets, and the Steelers. So, I mean, they haven't
You play
played
who's in
really
front of
anything
you.
yet. You play who's in front of you. Yeah, that's correct. But I don't know. I got to see
And I'm
something
sorry, they're
first.
actually 2-2. I was wrong about that.
Didn't they
So,
lose
but
yesterday?
even then, 2 wins.
They lost to the Falcons yesterday, right?
They did they? Yeah, they
Yes, they
did. It
did.
was
They
they
did.
lost on a 3-point game.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't really believe in the Browns that much. I think it's going to come down to the Ravens and the Bengals at the end of the day. But the Ravens realistically should be 4-0 right now. Could be 4-0. Not should, but with that massive lead blowing to Miami. Yesterday, I give a little more leeway than a lot of other people did. I mean, they blew a big lead they blew it to the best team in football right now, for being honest. They were up 20-3 at one point and ended up losing the game 23-20. That offense looked dead in the second half. I mean, they scored all 20 points in the first half. But this is my question. Is that a testament to how dry and uneventful the Ravens play calling is? Or is that just how good the Bills defense is? Because this Bills defense made a couple plays where they just absolutely shut down Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews the whole game. They had him locked up.
Well, Bateman ended up getting hurt in that game, which I think that's a huge issue. You can't really lose your number one guy, but I think it's a bit of both with the Ravens. They don't really have the personnel or the play calling. They just have 3, maybe 4 if you count J.K. Dobbins. We have to see how he looks coming back from injury, which he looked great the other day. But like I said, you got 3, maybe 4 great players on that offense, and then bad play calling and it's decent supporting staff. I mean, I like Duvernay enough. Their offensive line is all right, but there's just I don't know that there's enough there with the Ravens to put them on the caliber of a team like the Bills or something like that. Because the Bills, I like their quarterback, all-time great talent. Then you've got an all-time great level team, and then you've got an all-time not an all-time great, but a really really good coaching staff. With the Ravens, I feel like you just have Lamar Jackson, And then that defense, you're really betting on being a great defense this year. And they haven't been bad by any means, but they've got a lot more talent than what they're putting on paper right now. Like they're just not performing as well as they should. So I don't know. When I'm talking about the Ravens, I'm not really ready to put them into that championship category with what we've seen so far. And I think a lot of that comes down to Harbaugh and their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, who is just not good. He
Yeah, I'm
just
not.
does not design good route trees.
I don't. I'm definitely not putting them on the same level as the Bills or the Chiefs. No way. But I'm just saying, if you look back at their games, they realistically had a shot to be 4-0, especially with that Miami blown lead. And I mean, yesterday, just if I was a Ravens fan, I'd be a little worried right now. I mean, did you see the sideline after this game after
That's what I'm most
Harbaugh
worried
called
about.
Harbaugh literally thought I looked like he was going to get his head ripped off by Marcus Peters, rightfully so. I mean, the dude has a problem for going for it on fourth down. I mean, it's constantly. It's never he takes the points, especially that late in the game against the best team in football. I mean, your defense has played pretty damn good the whole game. I think you should go out there. You should let them see what they can do.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
didn't
that's what I would have
understand that
done.
decision at all. You've really got to take the field goal at the end of the game there. But hey, that's been John Harbaugh's MO, and it's gotten him into a lot of hot water right now. I mean, there was a point before John Harbaugh brought in Lamar Jackson where he was pretty much almost out of the building. He was not very well regarded throughout the league, but then recently, these last few years, it's built up. And then last year was supposed to be the year that they went over the edge. They went and won the championship, but then everybody got hurt. So you kind of get a pass for Harbaugh from that. But now is kind of the time where it's like do or die for Harbaugh. This is Lamar Jackson's extension year. So I mean, if it's ever a do or die year, it's right now. And like I said, they didn't get the pieces and the talent in places that they really needed to do it to build a complete roster that's on the level of the Bills and the Chiefs. So while I'm not going to put it past Lamar Jackson to go on this like all-time great playoff run and win them all these games and take them there because that's the level of talent that he is, he's not in a situation where I feel as comfortable saying it that as like a we'll put it's always the same two teams. It's the Chiefs and the Bills, Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen. Those are the guys that are on that level. That's the level you want to be on. Those are the team levels you want to be on. Lamar Jackson's not there. And the Ravens aren't there, I should say.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think Lamar Jackson isn't in the exact area as Lamar or as Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen, but I think he's right. He's swimming in the waters, but he's not right there. Definitely has to do with.
I
I
don't
think
know
if
about that.
I think so, especially this year.
I think that
You think he's that far away from Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen?
no, I think
I think
he's in that category. I think that he should belong right there. Like those three names are the
I
top
think
three in the league right now.
no, I think Pat Mahomes and Josh Allen are a little different than that
Well, I
than
think I
him.
think that no, I don't think that's the line that you should be drawing there is the difference between Mahomes and Allen and Lamar. I think the line is Mahomes, then Allen Lamar. Mahomes is a very
Yeah,
clear
that's true.
one over Allen,
I
and
think
I think every
last night
six
made that
months,
clear.
yeah, every 6 months there's a new guy to take over from Mahomes already, and that's how I think he's just kind of that guy who's going to be the best quarterback as long as he's in the league.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league. I mean, we both predicted him to win MVP, and he damn sure did look like it last night. He made one bad throw the entire game, and Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes literally looked like they were playing catch for the whole entire first half.
Yep.
That offense is insane, and the way they utilize every single person in that offense, that everyone has their role. You know what plays are coming
Clyde
sometimes before they're even
Edwards-Helaire,
called. Yeah, he looks
he
like.
he looks like an actual player now.
I mean, Andy Reid, that whole coaching staff. Shout out to them; they looked fantastic yesterday. Bucks might have lost, but Tom Brady and that Bucks offense actually started to show some life on offense. Him and Mike Evans connected for their first touchdown. I heard a crazy stat. I think it was in 35 games together, they have 30 touchdowns. Mike Evans and Tom Brady. And I think that's nuts. It
Yeah,
just
I
shows.
mean,
I think if Mike Evans had a great quarterback his whole career, this dude would be in top 10 conversation, I think. I mean, 1,000-yard wide receiver every year, and he was playing with Jameis Winston and who else before Tom Brady?
well, there was Gabbert. There's there was a bit of Fitzpatrick. Um,
Fitz magic.
I just I completely agree with that. I think Mike Evans, he's definitely a Hall of Fame receiver. Which, by the way, Nick Wright was on Twitter saying he's not a Hall of Fame receiver the other day. I was like, all right, Nick Wright, not all right.
I have
It's okay.
a little slack for Nick Wright though because of he's such a LeBron guy.
Yeah, I love that part about Nick Wright, and I every time he talks about LeBron, I'm like, yeah, Nick Wright genius. But every other time he talks, he's just an idiot, man. Like there's
He's
just nothing.
better he's better in basketball though. Like
I
football he should
agree.
just
I
completely
agree.
stay out of.
All
But
right.
enough with the
Not
Nick
the
Wright
Nick Wright,
talk.
right? Yes.
Nick Wright
Um.
podcast.
What was I saying? Oh, now all I got is Nick Wright on the
We were
mind.
talking about
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes.
Tough.
I don't know. I totally
Yeah.
forget. I'm gonna be honest. I totally forget what it was. Nick Wright
Yeah.
was on the mind. Nick Wright was talking
Yeah.
about somebody.
And he said, "Oh, Mike Evans wasn't a Hall of Famer."
Yes. Yeah.
Was what he said, and I think that's a bit ridiculous. The argument against Mike Evans being a Hall of Famer is the fact that those stats were inflated in games that were losing because that Bucks team was putting up 30 points a game, but also allowing like 38 points a game. So it was kind of unbalanced stats. But Mike Evans, his entire career has been just absolutely dominant, and then we're seeing him take it to another level, coming up on his 30s, and he's doing it now with an actual good quarterback. I think that like 30 touchdowns in 35 games. This guy is he is exactly what you want from an X wide receiver. And we've had this talk a couple of times on the podcast, going through Mike Evans' resume and why he should be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. 1,000 yards every time he's been on the field in the season. Turned Johnny Manziel into a first round pick. He was a top 12 pick himself. And like you said, this is a pro football Hall of Fame. So it's really about like your whole body of work as a football player, not just in the NFL. So you've got his college career, not much high school, but his college career was great. He was an all-time great college player. So yeah, Mike
Nick
Evans
Wright's
certified.
that argument makes no sense to the dude's literally put up 8 1,000 yard seasons in 8 seasons. So I
Yeah, I
mean,
don't think the stats were inflated every single one of those years. I just don't.
that's such a dumb argument. Like, shut up, Nick Wright.
To be fair, there's a couple like 1,001 yards, 1,002 yard seasons, but
He
even
has
then,
1,001 yards. He has 1,001 and 1,006.
they
And in one
exist.
thousand,
Those two seasons did happen. They weren't the best Mike Evans seasons of all time if you actually go through them. However, Mike Evans, I will not stop praising him. He is incredible, and we could go on all day about how great of a wide receiver he is because just one
I'd
of
love
those
to have him
guys.
as I'd love to have him as my wide receiver too. He's take a punch for me any day of the week. Just ask Tom Brady.
I don't know if there are not many teams he would be a wide receiver two on.
No, I didn't say wide receiver too.
Oh, wide receiver two. Okay.
Oh yeah,
I
my bad.
get you. That makes sense.
I was like, oh no, I think he's wide receiver one. But if you have
Yeah.
Mike Evans as your wide receiver too, it's pretty damn good.
That'd be
Moving
nasty.
on though, we have I want to talk about the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay.
Playing the Rams next week. Cooper Rush 3-0 in his 3 starts. I don't think there's any quarterback debate right now. If I'm just going to put that out there, I like Dak Prescott. I think he's they're on the 10-12 range. But as I'm seeing this, if Dak Prescott is not 100% healthy, like 100% ready to go out there, no pain, nothing, see what Cooper Rush can do against the Rams. He's played 3 decent teams. Every single game he's played, he's looked better. His passer rating's gone up. His stats look better. He looks more comfortable on the field. I'm not saying, yes, it might cause a little havoc in the locker room if he wins, but I'm looking at this as if Dak Prescott is not 100% ready and you're rushing him back, why would you do this? That's how I'm looking at that right now.
Jerry Jones is adding a lot of fuel to the fire.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With the backup taking over the starter's job. Like what are you doing, Jerry? You just paid Dak $40 million a year and you're saying we like Cooper Rush. He compares a lot to Tony Romo, who is a guy that we had come in as an undrafted free agent and take over for your paid quarterback that's already on roster. That is not a situation that you want to happen again. Keep in mind, Dallas fans, you didn't win a ring with Tony Romo. As great of a player as he was, that's the goal of the game. Like I feel like at the end of the day, you're trying to win a ring, and Dak. I don't think the Cowboys are anywhere close to winning a ring at any time, but Dak is much more likely to put you in that conversation than going with Cooper Rush. So I don't understand why Jerry Jones is, as an owner, going out and doing that, but that's just kind of the guy he is.
My favorite Jerry Jones quote about this whole thing was, if there's a QB controversy, we're doing it right. That was
What are
my
you
favorite Jerry
talking
Jones
about?
quote.
Like,
It makes no
tell them
sense.
there is no even if there is a quarterback controversy, you don't say that there is. When the Eagles drafted Carson or Jalen Hurts in the second round, there wasn't supposed to be. No, he was a utility man, is what they said. He's a utility. Now where's he at? He's taken over his job, but there was totally a quarterback controversy. The whole team did not like Carson Wentz, and everybody knew it, but they wouldn't say it because as an owner, you have a job and a responsibility to your team, not to the media. And I feel like Jerry Jones at sometimes gets that flipped. I mean, he's a show person.
Yeah, Jerry Jones
Jerry's World. He goes on Good Morning Football. Like, he's just a show person.
He should swap places with Al Davis. He should be in Vegas. I mean, Al Davis is one of the best owners in football, I think, at least. I mean, I just love him. He's goofy looking. I mean, for a guy who is so prominent, I love Al Davis. I mean, yeah, he's made.
He gave John Gruden $100 million.
Yeah, that's bad. But I mean, I don't know. I like what he's trying to do. He's always trying to put a winner on the field, even though it's not good. But it's good for football, I think. I'd always love to see the Raiders in the playoffs. But anyway, back to what I'm saying. Jerry Jones is all about the media, as you just said. I mean, that's all he wants to talk about. He always wants to be the main attraction. And when you think Cowboys, when you think an NFL team, your first thought or one of your first thoughts shouldn't be about the owner, in my opinion. When you talk about the Dallas Cowboys, Jerry Jones is always one of the first ones mentioned, and how stupid he is or how goofy he is or whatever. And Jerry Jones will forever be the problem. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys could go on and win 10 games, be the first seed in the playoffs right now, and I still would not be confident in their Super Bowl chances or their playoff chances. I remember last year I was calling them a fraud throughout, and I was getting called a Cowboy hater on Twitter, blah, 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 and then they showed up in the first round. So, I mean, I don't know. As long as Jerry Jones is there, I don't see anything going right for the Cowboys.
The dude's kind of, I've never seen and I know it's a little bit different with owners, but I've never seen somebody get so many chances and just blow it so many times. Like, this is a team with the highest payroll in the league. And under Jerry Jones, I mean, I don't know. Was Jerry Jones around for those early rings? So he's got those early ones. And since then, nothing. Literally nothing. So it's not working. Jerry Jones's philosophy doesn't work. So, I mean, like you said, you can't really be talking about an owner when you're talking about an NFL team. You should be talking about the product they're putting on the field. But time and time again with the Cowboys, it comes back to Jerry Jones.
And I mean, this is going to be my last comment on Jerry Jones because of just how bad it is when it comes to him. Every time they hire a new head coach, everybody laughs about it because they're like, here he is, the new puppet who will just do whatever Jerry Jones asks him to do, asks him to say, asks him how to present himself. I mean, we went from Jason Garrett to Mike McCarthy, and that was just so evident. Like, so I don't know. That's why all the legendary Cowboys head coaches left, and that's how it's going to be until Jerry Jones passes the torch over. So Dallas fans, I apologize for that.
Passes the torch to his son.
Exactly.
Sure, it'll get much better.
Maybe we'll see. You got to be optimistic for the youth, for the 50-year-old, 60-year-old youth. Vikings versus the Saints. That was a pretty weird game. I mean, it was a good game, but we were watching Andy Dalton versus Kirk Cousins at like 11 o'clock.
Andy Dalton runs that offense better than Kirk Cousins does, to be honest.
Jameis Winston.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Jameis Winston.
Absolutely. I agree with you. He knew what he was supposed to do. Jameis Winston, as you said last podcast, the dude always goes for the home run play. And it's very evident, I think, with this Saints offense. You have so many guys structured where this is a team you want to march down the field. You don't even have to make the big plays. You have guys like Chris Olave, who literally already looks like a fantastic wide receiver, NFL wide receiver. You have Michael Thomas, who probably is still a top 5 route runner. I mean, he's hurt every other week, but when he's on the field, he's pretty damn good. I mean, you'll have Alvin Kamara back, Mark Ingram, Shell. So, I mean, you have some weapons still. And
I mean, we're talking about their weapons, and the fourth one is the 33-year-old Mark Ingram. I feel like it's very top. 34-year-old Jarvis Landry, who is literally running a 4.12 40 right now. And that's not a 4.12. No, I'm talking about a 5.2 40. So, yeah, there's that. But, I mean, I feel very confident in my Chris Olave Rookie of the Year narrative. I knew they traded 2 first-round picks to move up and take this guy number 12 overall because they wanted to use him. And he's got probably what I'm trying to do the mental math here. He had like 7 targets last week, 26 the 2 weeks before. Yeah, he's got about 40 targets through 4 weeks. So, yeah, they're throwing the guy the ball. And I feel like he just won the Rookie of the Month. If there's anybody that you want to put a bet on for Rookie of the Year, Chris Olave, man. They're just going to feed him the ball.
I still think Drake London's better, though.
Oh, I 100% agree. I'd take Drake London on my team any day. As a matter of fact, there's probably 3 or 4 wide receivers I'd take over Olave in this class. But
I would take Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson. I just literally who I just said is just popped out of my brain. Drake London, and I might take what's his name from the Titans. Yep, I might take.
I don't know how comfortable I feel with Burks over Olave, considering how Burks has not looked NFL ready at all yet. I mean, we were kind of expecting him to fully like get into stride like right now. Like it was a slow start, yes, but the snap share increase, it went up double from week 1 to week 2, and then same thing with week 3, but he wasn't able to produce at all in week 3. So they got a little bit worried about that. His snap share started to go down a little bit this week, and then he got hit pretty hard and
he got hurt.
Actually, it was a non-contact injury, and he got carted off the field. So I don't know that I'd be willing to trust Treylon Burks over Olave right now. But I mean,
if
even then, two guys over Olave in this class for sure.
I love Garrett Wilson. He will forever be my wide receiver 1 from this draft. I wanted him so bad. I mean, the Jets, though, yesterday, I mean, should we talk about that game? We got the Kenny Pickett, Zach Wilson game. Kenny Pickett. I had a lot of Steelers fans on Twitter saying that this guy looked NFL ready. You just had to watch the game to notice that. Yes, I understand that. Actually, do you want to hear a fun fact? This was the most passes completed without one hitting the ground, 13. And they weren't all to his team, though, actually. So he was 10 for 13 with 3 interceptions. I don't know. He had some decent throws, but I can never say a guy had a good game when he threw 3 interceptions. I would say 2 were his fault, too.
Yeah, it's a very underwhelming debut when you come out and you throw 3 picks and a half and lose to the Jets. So that is not a fun thing to do as a rookie quarterback. But like you were saying, everybody was talking about how Kenny Pickett looked good, how he looked like he was ready to perform in this offense. Yeah, it to me looked like he was ready to be aggressive. He did not look good. That deep ball to Chase Claypool, yeah, it hit Claypool in the hands. But where was everybody on the field? Look at the way that ball was supposed to be thrown. Everybody was standing completely still by the time that ball got to Chase Claypool. They gave him, that gave time for the cornerback to rotate over and give help on a play that otherwise he shouldn't have been even near the play. He ended up making the interception at the end of the day. It wasn't a poorly placed ball at the end of the day, and Claypool probably could have came down with it. But that is not the process that you're looking for. And when you're judging quarterbacks especially, you want to look at the process instead of the result. And even then, both the process and the result were bad. And like, yeah, you can blame Chase Claypool for not also having a good process, but nothing was good about that. You can't, I see a lot of people saying that's a positive for Kenny Pickett, even though it was intercepted. There was nothing good about that play. He threw the ball 30 yards down the field. Any 4th grader could do that. Not really a 4th grader, but you know what I mean. So I mean, there was that pass that I didn't really think was that great of a ball at all. It should have been way out in front where he gets a true one-on-one with the safety, and it wasn't really there. There was a Hail Mary, which I'm not going to put on him at all. And then there was the other one was definitely his fault, but the one throw that I wanted to get to that I liked about him, because I don't want to spend too much time on Kenny Pickett, was when he was getting crashed down on by Quinnen Williams and got drilled and hit a guy over the middle. So
that looked good. Yeah, he was ready for it.
There were a couple things that I did like about Kenny Pickett. There were a few throws. The back shoulder fade to George Pickens, both of them were good, but 3 picks, not a good process on 2 of the picks. So I'm not like, I don't trust what I saw from Kenny Pickett. And you want to talk about going forward? Like, they're putting him against the Jets to hopefully get him a confidence boost, to hopefully like get a couple completions and a couple easy touchdowns, even if you don't win the game. But you're coming out of this game with 3 interceptions, a loss, and now you got to play the Bills on the road, the Bucks, the Dolphins on the road, and the Eagles on the road. That is not an easy schedule for a rookie quarterback who they're giving the reins of the offense to right now. And it's not like he's coming into a great offense with a great offensive line, not a great offensive line, decent weapons, but they haven't performed well this season. So Kenny Pickett, I've been his biggest hater this whole process. And I'm just going to end this by saying he is not going to perform as well as most people think he is.
My biggest takeaway from the whole putting Kenny Pickett thing in was Mike Tomlin. I was really surprised that he actually did it. I thought he would have at least stuck with Mitchell Trubisky for the rest of the game, played it out, and then threw Kenny in next week. I don't know. I didn't really like that. I would have let Trubisky finish the game.
It's
Trubisky
just the Bills. It's the Bills next week. They were the idea with Tomlin throwing him in that game was to just get him some momentum, just get him rolling a little bit, get some completions, get some touchdowns, feel good about yourself. And instead you just come in and throw up a stinker.
Yeah, he seemed I don't know. I watched his presser. He gave a your typical, I got to be better. I have a dog. He literally said something like, I have a dog mentality and I want to give it throughout the whole the clubhouse, the whole locker room. And you saw a lot of that. A lot of Steelers fans really like this guy. They liked what he saw. They're just trying to kind of ignore the 3 interceptions. I would say 2 counted the Hail Mary, as you said. I wouldn't keep that against him, but they're playing 4 hard games. I could see a world where Kenny Pickett starts his career 0-4 as a starter. And, that's not crazy to say, especially with the way Najee Harris has been playing so far. And there's a lot of things wrong with Steelers right now.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to finish this year. I don't think the Steelers, if they go 0-4 in this next stretch, you're 1-7 on the season, and it doesn't get much easier from there. I mean, you've got the Saints right after that stretch, but the Bengals then, Colts who I think might be back on track. But I mean, for the rest of the year, you've also got the Ravens in there twice. You've got the Browns in the last game of the season. It's not an easy schedule. I think they're going to be picking very high in the draft. And if Kenny Pickett doesn't perform well, is it time to just take another quarterback in this class where there's 3 or 4 quarterbacks that most people like? Because I mean, I don't trust Kenny Pickett that much. And I know they just took him in the first round, but how much value do you want to put into a quarterback that was drafted 21st overall in a very weak quarterback class who hasn't shown you anything? Because we're working under the assumption right now that he doesn't really show them too much, because that's kind of how I feel like it's going to happen. So what do the Steelers even do at that point? Is it time to consider another quarterback?
I'll give you my answer to that in 3 weeks. I don't want to pre-predict that, because I really got to. I got to see a full game.
I don't think Kenny Pickett is going to be a quarterback for the Steelers for multiple years. I don't think that he is a guy that's got lasting power in the league. I think that he at best is a bridge quarterback, and these bridge quarterbacks do not last long on their first teams.
See, the way I look at it is, even if he doesn't perform that good as what you're saying, I don't think Kenny Pickett's all that at all, but I think he's overrated. But the way I look at it with the Steelers, if he gives you a Zach Wilson type of season like last year, like he started bad, but then he shows like his signs of progression, that I'm just saying, if he gives you a season like that, I see a world where the Steelers do exactly what the Giants have been doing the past couple of years with Daniel Jones. I could see a world. Okay. I mean, the Steelers are a better organization than the Giants. They know how to win football games, but not for a while, or not. They know how to win championships. It's been a very long time for them, and I don't know. This is just something I could see. I could see the Steelers doing that. I could see Steelers fans exploding in their comments saying, "Why did you pass on Bryce Young? Why did you pass on blah blah blah?" And especially if they have a top 5 pick, it'd be very hard to do that.
See, I only bring this up because that's what I would do. That's what I would do. I think that the Cardinals have only made one right decision in their entire franchise in the last 10 years, and it's moving on from Josh Rosen to get Kyler Murray. I don't, and I'm not that high on Kyler Murray, but upgrading at the quarterback position is so important. And I was not high on the fact that they put that much into Kenny Pickett in the first place. The first round pick was way too much for him in a draft where no other quarterbacks were drafted in the first 3 rounds, or the first 2 rounds, I should say. They got duped. They just got duped into selecting a quarterback. Nobody else was taking them. It's just the truth, or else somebody else would have traded up in front of them. Everyone knew Pittsburgh was taking a quarterback, and nobody moved in front of them because everybody else in the NFL knew that these guys weren't good quarterbacks. And I kind of question Mike Tomlin's ability to develop a quarterback because he's never done it. It's just been Ben Roethlisberger. And other than that, what, they tried Mason Rudolph? How'd that work out? Who was the other guy that they tried? There was Josh Dobbs that they tried to develop. They've been trying to develop Ben Roethlisberger's successor for a long time now. They spent some high draft picks. Mason Rudolph was a second round pick. Josh Dobbs was a second round pick. Devlin Hodges. That's another one who I like Devlin. He was pretty cool. But like they put value into quarterbacks before, pretty too much value into quarterbacks that have not been good and have not panned out, who they have all thought were going to be the future anyway. Like Josh Dobbs for a while in Pittsburgh was dubbed as the successor for Ben Roethlisberger. And then it was Rudolph for a while. Like, I don't know that Mike Tomlin has the ability to develop a quarterback. I don't. And he's not putting Kenny Pickett in a good situation right now. Like going out and getting Mitch Trubisky to be bad for 4 games in front of him and teach him absolutely nothing. Like, that's not a bridge quarterback. That's not a bridge quarterback. That's a failure. And that's a mistake to make because it just puts your quarterback in a tough position. Now his career is starting, as we said, against an absolute, like, what's the word for this? It's a ringer of teams coming up right now.
He's hitting a brick wall to start his career. That's exactly what he's doing.
That's a fair way to put it. It's a brick wall right now that he's got to run through with really no offensive line leading the way. So I don't see it with Kenny Pickett, especially not this year. And for a guy that you're talking about, you want to see a Zach Wilson season out of him. Zach Wilson was 21 when he was drafted. Kenny Pickett's 24, going on 25 right now. Like, that's not what you want from a quarterback. But I feel like that's a fair amount of time to spend hating on a guy that just didn't throw an incompletion an entire game. How can we hate on a guy like that?
Hey, that's what I'm saying. Is there anything else for the NFL you wanted to mention for this?
I feel like we're missing a game.
The Eagles are still undefeated.
There it is. It's not and I don't want to talk about the Eagles. It's the Trevor Lawrence setting an NFL record.
Oh, most fumbles.
Lost. Yes. He lost 4 fumbles in a game, and it looked like it was his first game in bad weather ever. It looked like.
Did you see his quote though before the game?
About not wanting to wear gloves?
He doesn't like gloves.
Yeah, you might want to
reconsider that, Trevor.
Reconsider it a little bit.
Some of them were actually funny too. Like there was nobody around him for 2 of them, and he just dropped it.
the one where he was scrambling out of the pocket and just fell out of his hand. Man, just throw 1 glove on at least, just a left-handed glove at least, man. That's just, you can't have that. And I get it. It was 20-mile-an-hour wind, like pouring sideways, but it's
the glove on, man.
There are going to be worse games in the NFL that you're going to have to play. Like all the all-time greats, which is what Trevor Lawrence wants to do. They play in those snow games. Aaron Rodgers last year, he wasn't able to do it, but there have been plenty of Rodgers snow games. Brady against the Raiders in the Tuck rule. But like all of these kind of games, they're like harsh elements are part of the game. So got to figure that out, Trevor. But I mean,
this is a guy who went from playing in South Carolina to going to play in Jacksonville, Florida. So he probably doesn't know what bad weather is. Cold, musty, bad weather. But no, it was a lesson for this guy. I mean, if I'm Doug Peterson, I'm going up to after this game being like, all right, so you're going to be wearing gloves every single day of practice now. And I hope you know that. And that would be it. And Trevor Lawrence should go, okay. And that's really it. My other takeaway from this game that I have said multiple times, I do not know what Miles Sanders is. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he just going to have this game once a year? I mean, this was his best game of his career probably, but I just do not know where to put Miles Sanders.
He's got this problem where he bounces every single run out to the outside every single time. Not big enough. Yeah.
It's killed.
Yeah. I mean, it'll work sometimes. So you just got to read the blocks in front of you and take what's there, or else you're going to end up with those games where you have 7 carries for like 12 yards. And that's what you see from Miles Sanders sometimes. So he's kind of one of those backs that he's going to beat the teams that don't know how to tackle and they don't know how to play outside runs or respond to that very well, and don't know once their first option breaks down, like how to, on defense, I mean, how to adjust to that. But outside of that, I don't know that he's going to be really that great of a back in general, but he's got his role in the NFL. But
he's just in a very great system too.
Yeah, there's
I
only
mean,
one more game I wanted to talk about before we move on to the MLB, and that's the Geno Smith Masterclass.
oh yeah, he's better than Russell Wilson, maybe.
100%. I mean, 48 points. I know it's the Lions, but it
That
was a
game,
masterclass, and he was not like it wasn't just like dump the ball down and a guy gets some yards after. No, he was actually like
him and DK,
icing them up. Yeah, DK looked great.
they're the connection. And DK literally, that was the funniest thing I ever saw. He literally admitted to it. He's like, I literally had to get Carter off the field because I had to poop that bad. I thought that was hilarious. But this game, the Lions versus the Seahawks, this was literally just a Walmart version game of that Rams Chiefs game a couple years ago, and it was just free fire. Uh, Jared Goff looked great. Everyone looked. TJ Hawkinson had like almost 200 yards. He
That
put up
was a
like 40.
Hawkinson breakout game.
He put up 40 fantasy points and he averages 8. So whoever played against him, I feel really bad for you this week. I apologize. But yeah, that was a really good game that a lot of people are going to forget and probably didn't even know happened if you're the casual NFL fan because it was the Seahawks versus the Lions.
I sat
Another,
Rashad Penny.
no, yeah, rip. Um,
Yeah,
he looked good though, so I mean, at least he got that.
true.
Uh, One funny thing about the Lions that I just wanted to wrap up with this just discussion because it was the most Lions stat I ever saw. They have scored the most points in the NFL this
By
season
far. By
by
far.
far, and they are 1-3.
Yep.
It's just such a Lions stat. Like you can't get around it.
Their
And like
defense is just so bad, man. It is.
it's
It's
so bad.
they can't. Their front seven is bad. Aiden Hutchinson has not looked good at all. He's not beating anybody off the edge. He's put up a lot of numbers, but they've been bad numbers, man.
The sack
I
game was overrated. 3 sack
very
game.
overrated. Very overrated. I liked Hutchinson enough coming in, but he's not translated so far. And it's just nobody on that team can tackle. It's just bad, man. Every time that Rashad Penny was bouncing it around the outside, he was just abusing their secondary. Like I think it was Amani Oruwariye who it was just embarrassing for the guy. Like he's a good corner in his own right. Sometimes he's kind of got that Trayvon Diggs to him, who's played well this season, by the way, Trayvon Diggs. But Amani
Very good pass
Oruwariye,
rating yesterday.
yeah. But like I was saying, what was this? Oh, yeah, Oruwariye. Rashad Penny was his father the other day. Literally every time he was bouncing it out to the outside, going over him, around him, through him. It was pretty embarrassing for the guy. So
The
yeah,
Lions just seem like a team. Like I don't know, this might sound like stupid or weird, but their offense just gives me the vibes that their defense should be good. Like they just have like that run heavy, good offensive line, like
well, because
bad
Dan
boy. Just
Campbell's bite your toes off,
exactly, and like it's just
kneecaps,
like
bite your
it's like
kneecaps.
it's like no,
Same
the
thing.
offense bites your kneecap, your toes. I mean, their defense is getting their toes bitten off. I mean,
Just
literally every single game.
imagine
Don't
Dan
even say.
Campbell just yeah.
I knew you were gonna say, but that might get us kicked off of YouTube. Dan Campbell, the Detroit Lions might report us. But I knew exactly what you were gonna say, and I'm picturing it too now. Thanks for putting that in my head. Anyway, so a good way to end it on that graphic image of Dan Campbell. So let's move on to the MLB.
It's
The
funny, we never
drought.
even said it either.
But I feel like if you know what we're
You
talking
know,
about
you
right
know.
now, you know.
If you
Like
know,
you
you
just
know.
know.
Yeah.
Other people are probably like, what the fuck are they talking about? But if you know, you know, and if you know, I appreciate you. But moving on to the MLB. In about an hour, maybe, the final bracket can be set, which finally, I mean, I feel like this season has just been dragging on the past couple of weeks because, you know, they started late and usually by now we would have had the first playoff game. I hate when regular season baseball is played in October. October should be all playoff baseball and back to next year, that's what it's going to be. But right now, you know, as a Phillies fan, knock on wood, the Phillies are up 1-0 right now, 6th inning against the Houston Astros. Astros are playing their entire roster. And Aaron Nola is
Don't
pitching
say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
good. He's
He's
pitching
pitching
good.
good.
That's
He's
all I was
pitching
going to
good.
say. And obviously, I want the Phillies to win because I'm a Phillies fan, but I want the Phillies to win so we can actually predict these damn playoff series. I mean, it's always the Phillies to do some shit like this. But anyway, the Mariners on the other side finally broke their drought, and as a Phillies fan, I'm depressed about our drought, but Jesus Christ, I could not imagine being a Seattle Mariners fan. I mean, some people literally were able to drink before their entire lives before they saw this team play, and I apologize for that. But Jesus, you guys have a fantastic team. I mean, the Seattle Mariners are literally they're such a fun team to watch, and I cannot wait to watch these playoff games. And over the past couple of years, these seasons, the Mariners fan base is insane. Like it looks like they're having a playoff game on like a Tuesday night, like August 3rd. And it's just like, yeah, they just have a great fan base, always packed, and they did it right. And that's my number one thing with this team. The Mariners did it right. They have a fantastic pitching staff. They locked up Julio Rodriguez. They traded for Luis Castillo. They have a great bullpen pitching staff. They have good supporting members around, their main stars in the lineup. This is a team that I could definitely see going to the. I think they're a lock to go to the ALCS, I'm just going to put there right here. But I could see them competing with the Astros. I think they're miles ahead of the Yankees, if I'm being honest.
They've been my sleeper team this whole time. I mean, since the original podcast, we've been talking about them as a sleeper team. They made the Castillo deal, and I mean, what is there not to like about this team? I mean, they're one of the teams that absolutely have a chance to go all the way this year. It might be a little bit surprising with their injuries popping up right about now. But going forward, like for the future, I don't like many other teams better than the Mariners. They're one of the best run franchises in baseball. And I mean, it's a bit strange that it took them 21 years to get back here, but here they are, man. And I mean, I think it's time.
Must feel pretty damn great.
I feel like I know how the Dodgers are great this season. They're absolutely incredible. But I feel like this is one of those years where you're going to get kind of like the storybook ending where you're going to get, and there's two separate teams that could make that happen. At maybe three if you want to throw the Phillies, but I feel like that's a tad bit biased. So you've got the Mariners on one side, but you've also got the Cardinals. I feel like either one of those teams could pull that miracle like storybook, make a documentary, make a movie about this after. And I'm very excited to see it.
See, I look at the Cardinals in a different light. I wouldn't call them, if the Dodgers didn't exist, I would call them my favorites out of the NL. Maybe okay. No, I take that back. I feel like I put the Braves over them.
Yeah, that's fair. But I feel like it's just kind of like a storybook ending because of the three
Albert,
guys. Yeah.
Wayne, Yachty.
I mean, and they have literally.
Definitely. And man, it must feel great to be a Cardinals fan right now. I mean, Albert Pujols has, without a doubt, the second best retirement tour of all time. David Ortiz still clears the man, but Ortiz was like literally sixth in MVP his final year. Yeah. Still should not be in the Hall of Fame because he took steroids, but I'm just putting that out there. Love Big Papi, but that's just the truth. But my one thing, we've been saying it all year, the Mets are frauds. And this past series with the Braves, they had to win one game. And they got swept. They didn't just get swept. They got swept with Max Scherzer, Jacob deGrom, and Chris Bassett in a 3-game series. And wait, first of all, I just want to say this. Charlie Morton was pitching yesterday. They started the game off 3-1. And then the starting pitching got bad. The bullpen, the Braves got to them. The Braves just know how to beat this team. The Braves know how to play good baseball. Dansby Swanson, Matt Olson are their fathers, and they have just been destroying them this whole year. And the Mets, just as much star power as they have, they do not scare me. And that might be like little I hate the Mets inside, but honest to God, they do not scare me at all. And maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I just don't like it. Buck Showalter is not a winner. It's not a winner.
Their fans don't seem that confident right now.
Fans are pissed. They literally are like, season's over, and they might win. They might win 100 games.
Exactly.
They're like, season's over.
And this is not a great time to get cold as a team. This is not a great time to not have your fan base fully behind you. And that kind of feels like the direction it's going for the Mets. They just blew. And I know it's not even like they played bad. They were on a 96 win pace since I think it was June 1st when the 10.5 game lead, like that whole meme has been going around. Since
Braves just went nuts.
Yeah, they won 73 games in their last 100. Like, of course the Braves are going to come and take that over, but still, the vibe around the Mets has just gone increasingly downward, even with that, just because of the way the Braves are playing. I feel like they're letting the Braves affect them too much. They're not just going out there and being the Mets. They're not just going out there and playing each game the way that they should. They felt like they just kind of were trying to win the division and just kind of like stay in the lead for the division. But you just can't play like that. You just got to play your game as it comes. And it felt like they kind of just lost sight of what was really important as a team. And that's not a great time to do that.
The Mets put themselves on cruise control and they thought they had it already. They thought they had it back in July. As and just as like the records show in baseball, that is not how this game works. You have to have your foot on the pedal until you literally see that clinch division series, whatever it is, whatever you're trying to clinch, you have to keep going. And the Mets didn't, and I just do not trust them going forward. I feel like they just have a lot of the Mets have. I don't know. This might sound stupid, but they have so many big contracts that I don't think that these guys care as much as other people. I mean, that might sound a little stupid. I mean, I know they care, obviously, but they don't have. This might sound stupid. This might sound Twitter. Like they don't have like the dog in that clubhouse to me.
It's more like they don't have the same motivation as teams that. I mean,
as
I
other
you're saying
teams.
with the payment or the payment, but you know what I mean. The salary. These guys are getting paid way more. Like they don't have that extra motivation that you get guys that win a ring, they get paid more. But if you're already on contract, it's a bit different. Like you've already paid these guys, which is why, like we say a million times, we'll say it on this podcast over and over, pay guys for what they're going to do for you, not what they've already done, which is why you see the younger teams like the Braves win like a lot more often because they've just got that extra level of motivation to go provide for themselves.
Absolutely. I mean, just to end the baseball discussion off for right now, we'll have a full special on this, but I just wanted to give ourselves a little shout out right here. Our Cleveland Guardians take throughout the whole year. But I still think they have the pitching, they have the starting pitching, they have the bullpen. It's literally like they built this team in the show, but they just do not have the extra bat. They don't
have the big bat. And that's what we're talking about the whole time. And we actually it was one of the earliest podcasts. We got our first hate comment saying, "What the Guardians? They've got all the bats they need." We'll see.
They have Miles Shaw in their starting lineup for the playoffs. Do you want to know how many home runs he has, Chase?
Isn't it like 3?
0.
Is it 0?
And he is starting in their lineup.
He's got 600 at bats too, right?
Yeah, he has 526. So right around
all
there.
Season and has no home runs at center field. Interesting.
You can't do that. I mean, they have a lot of cool players that I like. I mean, they have probably my favorite second baseman in the league, and I love Jose Ramirez. But they needed that one more bat, and they don't have it. I mean, Ahmed Rosario cannot be your fourth best hitter.
No,
it's just not how Ahmed Rosario is good in the show when he turns into like an 88, 89 somehow, but not in real life. And that's just how I look at it. And if I was a Cleveland Guardians fan, I'd obviously be proud of this team for getting here because back in April, no one expected them to do anything this year. But they definitely need to put a little more into this team, invest a little bit more. That's the thing. It's a little bit more with this team. And I think that's what's going to kill them at the end of the day. But I would not be.
It's going to be a bit more than a little bit because they're going to have to start signing these guys to bigger contracts. Like they've got a young team right now that hasn't all been paid yet. Like they're going to have to go.
I'm just saying. Out. I was just saying for like right now.
Right now, they're the iteration of the team, but like
one more.
They had to have done this at the deadline. Like that was the time to start making.
Moves. Definitely.
You're kind of start like right now, as we're saying, you're getting into the playoffs. You're not being considered really seriously when every other team in the playoffs is very seriously considered to make a run. Like, I don't think there's another team that I can just write out of the playoffs right now. So, I mean, yeah, no, I feel comfortable saying that there's not another team that I feel comfortable just writing off except for the Guardians. So they had that chance to go make that extra move and they were stagnant.
Is it a hot take to say I'm writing off the Yankees right now?
Yes, absolutely a hot take.
I am writing off the Yankees right now. I think they at least. I think the closest they go. I think the closest. Well, no, I don't think so. they're going to lose in like 5 games in the ALDS. That's my prediction for the New York Yankees. I don't trust their
I
pitching. I trust Nestor Cortez.
well,
That's
he'll
the only
probably be
pitcher
the
I
game.
trust.
He should be the game one starter. He
But
really
Garrett
should.
Cole will be the game one
Garrett Cole
starter.
will be. It really all comes down to Cole. If Cole can come out and pitch very well, give you 2 games in a series that are shutdown games, that's a different Yankees team than you really ever see right now because you're not getting that from anybody.
Exactly.
But I mean, but Garrett Cole's got the facilities to do it. If there's anybody in the league that has the pure stuff, I mean, Garrett Cole's among those guys. So, like, I don't feel comfortable with the Yankees, but I don't think that they're a Guardians level team in the playoffs.
They play. See, this is exactly what I'm saying, though. They're playing the winner of the Guardians versus the Rays. And if I'm betting on it, I'm taking either of those teams over the Yankees right now. And I'm not a Yankee hater.
Over the Yankees?
I think that their pitching could outdo the Yankees offense. The Guardians are smart with their pitching, and they would know they'd have to work around 2 bats in that entire line. Work around. And this is
we were talking about how bad the bats are for the Guardians. If you want to neutralize bad pitching, the Yankees pitching has been fine against bad teams this year. It really has. And I don't.
Yeah, but I think the Guardians having a top 3 pitching is going to do a lot more damage on the Yankees bats. All you have to do is walk Aaron Judge. You walk Aaron Judge.
Just give him 100% on base percentage. I don't think that. I really don't think that Aaron Judge is the only player that you got to worry about in that lineup. I mean, Stanton still exists. There's not.
Stanton still exists, but
a
good pitcher knows how to work around Stanton now.
And just Rizzo too.
Rizzo has been good. So yeah, I said 2-3 players you got to work around, and that's really it. I mean, yeah,
hey,
if you have
let's not trash Aaron Hicks here.
Yeah, that is true. He made a good throw like 5 games ago, so he gets every hate comment taken back. Exactly. But honest to God, I'm not trying to hate on the Yankees, but I just do not trust this pitching staff at all. And their bullpen just got more hurt. I forget his name right now, but their sidearm pitcher that they traded for at the deadline got hurt yesterday, and I think he's on the 15-day IL. Zach Britton's out. Aroldis Chapman sucks. Clay Holmes is out. Their bullpen is shit.
Yeah,
Lou Trevino is going to be their.
Yeah. That's all you need. You just need Gleyber.
Yeah, so we'll talk more about this in depth when it's set, but I'm just really excited for the playoffs, and I'm excited to get predictions. But for our final thing today, we're doing a little segment called Segment of the Day, and today's is your 3 favorite playoff performers of all time. And I did one from MLB, one from NBA, one from NFL. And my 3 are 2017, 2018 playoff Nick Foles. I have 2014 playoffs Madison Bumgarner, and I have 2020 bubble Jamal Murray as my 3.
Jake? So my 3, I got to start with, I did this more about their careers. I went with Von Miller was probably my favorite guy to watch in the playoffs. He just turns it up to another level. Then Rajon Rondo, playoff Rondo, doesn't get much better than that. And Game 6 Clay.
Game 6 Clay, he's a killer.
Yes, he is. I like the Jamal Murray pick.
Yeah, Jamal Murray. I mean, I can literally just remember. I just remember watching these games at work because this was right around when the bubble started. Jamal Murray didn't even start the playoffs that well, though. That was the funny thing. It took him like 3 to 4 games to get into it, and then he dropped a 50-piece, dropped the regular game, and then he dropped another 50-piece, and he literally just ended up looking like the best player in all of basketball for a 2-week period. With Madison Bumgarner, that was the best pitching performance in playoff baseball I ever watched. He literally went up to his manager. He said, Bruce Bochy, and he said, listen, put me in this game right now. In Game 7 of the World Series on the road after he pitched, I think it was 3 days ago. And he said, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to kick their ass. And that's exactly what he did. He let off a leadoff hit. And then from there, he was God. So, I mean, you can never take that away from Mad Bum. And my final with Nick Foles, it's not even biased. He was incredible during that playoff run with the Eagles. I mean, he beat Kirk Cousins. He beat the shit out of Minnesota. And then, the Atlanta game was just a classic. But this man will always have a place in my heart. And I have probably seen maybe 2 better quarterback playoff runs. And that's, again, not even biased in my lifetime. But go ahead. Why'd you pick your three?
First, I want to start off by saying Nick Foles probably played the best game I've ever seen from a quarterback in the Super Bowl, bar none. Like that, I'm not biased at all. Literally, everything except for one throw was perfect in that game. And there were multiple fourth down conversions that he made basically happen on his own with pocket movement that you just don't see from Nick Foles. Like this was just another level. So that is a perfect pick and one that I would have gone with had you not done yours before I got to mine. But anyway, Von Miller, my first one, Super Bowl MVP. That was the first Super Bowl that I actually bet on. So that was the first one that I was really interested in because I had it was like $5, but it was on that game.
It's still
on
big back then.
Yes, but on the Panthers, unfortunately, I was a big Cam Newton guy. But Von Miller, he had 2.5 sacks, forced fumble, and
Strip sack.
every time he's in the playoffs, he just turns up in 11 playoff games, 11 sacks. He's got a pick, he's got a fumble recovery, a forced fumble, a touchdown. He just shows up. So Von Miller, that was a pretty easy first choice for me. I love watching him, especially with a little bit of recency bias last year. So I had to throw him in there. But bar none, my favorite playoff performer of all time, Rajon Rondo. Playoff Rondo. And it's not like he's that great in the playoffs. It's not like he's like LeBron. And in the NBA, it's a little bit difficult to pick like the best playoff performers because it's either LeBron or the Warriors for the last decade, which is like, okay, it's kind of played out. But Rondo has been the one guy who throughout his career has just been much better in the playoffs than he has in the regular season. For his playoff career, 13 points per game, 9 assists a game, 6 rebounds versus 10 points per game, 5 rebounds and about 7.5 assists per game in the regular season. Like Rondo always turns it up and it feels like he just makes those flashy plays so much more in the playoffs. Like watching, I will always remember, I was so adamant on saying that the Bulls are going to upset the number one Celtics just because of playoff Rondo. And had he not got hurt, I 100% believe. Yes, they probably sweep. I agree.
They sweep.
And they got unlucky and lost, but Rajon Rondo was the catalyst of that team. He was the catalyst of the Lakers team as well. I really, truly believe that he was so important to that Lakers team that won a ring. And he was a catalyst to the Celtics team. Like 3 separate times throughout the playoffs. And with the Mavericks a little bit, he didn't make there was a time with the Mavericks where he was very good, but he also ended up having a bad end of the career. So I just love Rondo. Makes flashy plays in the playoffs. Super cool. Little turtle dude. Love the guy. And then Game 6 Clay, is there really that much to even say?
He's just the man. That's all you have to say with that. Look it up if you want to see. You just have to watch Game 6 Clay. That's just the best. I mean, the net didn't even move when that man was playing in Game 6. I mean, I just wanted to say the thing about Rajon Rondo because as soon as you said it about the playoffs, with that Bulls team, he was so good in those playoffs. Like it was actually insane. I remember watching it, and he knows how to pick apart a defense better than 98% of the league. I mean, it's insane. And I think that, again, with the Lakers thing that you just said, the level of its basketball intelligence IQ that was on the floor when it was shared by Rajon Rondo and LeBron James was insane. I mean,
hey, don't leave Dwight Howard out of that.
What'd you say?
Don't leave Dwight Howard out of that. He's a genius.
That is true. The way Howard does belong should be on the NBA 75 list. They're just saying, but
absolutely
over Damian Lillard, in my opinion. But yeah, that was a great pick. I love that one, and can't go wrong with Von Miller. I mean, the dude literally got traded last year and just was an instant impact for the Rams. Literally was a main reason they won the Super Bowl. That was one of the best trades in NFL history, especially like at the trade deadline where like literally the year before the biggest trade was I remember this. It was Aqib Talib to the Dolphins and then they cut him. That was the biggest trade of the entire deadline. So I mean that was insane last year. And I think it was like a 3rd round pick, was it? It wasn't a first, it might have been a second, it was second. Okay, so
yeah,
still they got a Super Bowl ring out of it. That's all that matters.
It was a great trade for both teams.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, great picks. Just wanted to say that. Rajon Rondo, though. I mean, the man is 36 still, and he's on the Cavs. I thought he was on the Clippers, if I'm being honest, but I did not know that. I thought he was on the
He
Clippers.
won't see much time this year. I think he'll probably end up retiring pretty soon.
When did
As he
he?
should.
When did he get? I swear he was on the Clippers last
Nah,
year,
he's been
though.
in Cleveland. He was in Cleveland last year.
He was on the Clippers in 2020, 2021. That's right.
Mhm.
I forgot about that. Yeah,
Yeah, there were
but
rumors about him going back to LA this offseason, but it didn't
yeah,
materialize.
so
But
that's what I was thinking of.
just one more note on Klay Thompson. I think that his numbers in the playoffs are fine. They're 19 points per game, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. Those are fine Klay Thompson numbers. But the 2015-2016 season, which the year they won their first ring, and Klay Thompson, they played without Kevin Durant and all that. 24 games, 24 points a game, 4 rebounds, and he was shooting about 45 from the field and about 45 from three. So on about 10 attempts a game from three. I mean, there's just not. I love Steph Curry, but as far as playoff shooters go, Klay Thompson, he might be number one on 7.6 attempts per game in his playoff career, 41%. That's a
Damn.
very high percentage for that high of a volume. And Steph Curry's got his struggles in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know exactly what his stats are in the playoffs, but I'm sure I can pull them up very quickly and find. I'd bet they're probably a bit lower as far as 3-point percentage.
I mean, that was always one of his like things against Steph Curry, like that he didn't show up as much in the playoffs. Definitely
He's a
proved them
third
wrong this year, though.
a 39% 3-point shooter in the playoffs on about 10 attempts a game. So slightly
What was
worse than
Clay's
Klay
41
Thompson.
on 7?
41 on 7. So they're fairly similar. Steph obviously has a bit more volume, and he scores a bit more. He averages about 26 in the playoffs, and there's no debate. Steph Curry is a much better player, and he's probably taking a much higher level of difficulty of shots. But Klay Thompson, he gets a bit overlooked as far as his playoff success sometimes.
I
I feel
agree with
like
you.
people just think about him as only Game 6 Klay, but throughout the playoffs, he's just been consistently great.
Especially in those early championship runs where the dude was the best. I mean, he was an all-star, but he was the best 3-and-D player in the league. That's just,
Yeah,
I mean, I'd say so at least. Best 3-and-D. I mean,
in his prime when he was fully healthy and he had no knee injuries and he could move laterally at the same rate as he was in his
I mean,
prime.
he was
Yes, I
covering the
think that
best player, best
he was
perimeter
covering
player.
Kyrie Irving every time they were playing the Cavs. I mean, he
That's
was
why
that kind of guy that could guard the best perimeter defender, shut him down, and really neutralize the issues that Steph Curry has. Like Steph Curry cannot be a good on-ball defender, but you can switch him around. And when you've got a guy like Klay Thompson that you can switch in the guard position onto other guards, it's beautiful. It works beautifully. And that's why this Warriors team works so well. Like it's not like that's why the Hawks have issues. The Hawks can't hide Trae Young the same way the Warriors hid Steph Curry while he developed that because he's become a great defender recently, a decent defender. The Hawks still have to hide Trae Young while he does that, and they're not able to do that because they don't have a Klay.
they brought in DeJounte Murray though to try to do that. I don't think it's the
DeJounte
same level,
Murray
but that's what they're
hasn't
trying to do.
been the defender that he is like credited to be for the last few seasons. He's turned into more of an offensive player than most people like to think because he's like in 2K, he's a defensive specialist. Like that's what, but he's not really. He puts up the steal numbers, but the on-ball defense leaves a little bit to be desired from with DeJounte Murray, if we're being totally honest.
I think, I mean, you can't argue stats, but I think that could change a little bit this season. I think the role is going to be a little different because Trae Young's going to be your main ball handler, at least I think. And I don't think they share 50-50, but I'm excited to see DeJounte in a new role. I mean, he played what his first year with Kawhi Leonard when Kawhi got hurt. Was that his only playoff trip? So I'm excited to
Yeah,
see him
did
on like a
he
winning
was he even
team.
on that team?
I think he
2017,
was a rookie. I don't know if he even played,
maybe
but
2017, 2018, right? Yeah.
so I think yeah, he wasn't really playing. I mean, Ginobili was in his final year, I think, when Dejounte Murray first got there. So
Yeah,
I'm
and I
just
mean
excited to
he
see him on a
doesn't have
new
much.
team.
He doesn't have much playoff experience. That's it's about obvious, but I don't know. I'm not
They
as
gave up a
high.
haul for this guy too. So I mean,
Oh, a huge haul for him. I mean, I don't know that I think that he's worth all that. And I'm a huge DeJounte Murray fan, but like not 3 first-round pick DeJounte Murray fan, if I'm being totally honest. Like, does a big three of Trae Young, John Collins, and DeJounte Murray really move you that much?
And they're trying to do the whole thing with like Hunter and Capella, and I don't know.
I
I don't
like
really
Hunter a
like.
fair amount, but the injuries have really held him back a lot. And Capella's getting up there, man. You're not going to see Capella's past his peak right now. Those athletic centers don't get better with age.
What's your I mean, I know you definitely saw. He's only 28 years old, but
That's old. That's old for a center.
yeah, but I don't know.
Dwight
He
Howard.
was.
I compare him to Dwight, a little bit lesser of a Dwight Howard, just physically imposing. And Dwight Howard went downhill around 28, 29.
Yeah, I'm just. I mean, like I wouldn't. I think it'll still be fine. I think it'll still be Clint Capella.
He'll be all
I,
right, but no, Clint Capella, I feel like he got underrated. He never really put up the numbers that he should. He is an athletic monster, like an absolute freak, but he was in a backup role in his early days when he was at his best. So I don't know. I don't think that Clint Capella is ever going to be the guy that we expected him to be.
he really put up. I mean, I'm just looking at his stats right now. I
They're
really
great.
wish that that Houston team with Chris Paul and James. I wish Chris Paul never got hurt, man, because that team was so good. That team was such a good fundamental basketball team. I'm just looking at his stats from that year. But I just wanted to end the NBA discussion with this because, it's still rumored and you're seeing it around Twitter all the time now. That Lakers trade with the Pacers, that we've been talking about, not we've been talking about, but NBA world's been talking about for like 5 years now, it seems. It was rumored to be Russ and 2 firsts for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. What are you doing if you're the Lakers? Are you doing it? I think you got to do it with
It
this
depends.
roster.
It just depends on how LeBron is committed. Like, is LeBron going to stay these last 2 years on? I mean, he must. He's on contract, and if that's the case, then yes, you absolutely do it. You absolutely go out and give your picks for two really good players. But the fact that they're kind of not the fact that they're hesitant at all tells me that LeBron might not be as committed as a 2 year $100 million extension would
Did you
say,
see?
because
Did you see the reason for it?
that they think that Russell Westbrook can then or can start to fit. But I don't believe that at all. You saw a
Me
season of
neither.
Russell Westbrook. You're not expecting Russell Westbrook to change his game at 33 years old. That would just be poor practice from management. And maybe it is poor practice, but we've seen this Lakers front office be competent before. So I don't think that Jeannie Buss has had her competent moments.
This whole. I mean, this is just what it reminds me of because this whole offseason I've been seeing it. The Russell Westbrook shooting in the gym clips. His 3-point shot looks really good. Apparently, like all this stuff. It reminds me of the summer, even though like he's on
Melo.
the team. It reminds me of like the year he got traded though, because I feel like
Yeah.
everyone's trying to. Before he, I mean, because let's be honest, when he got traded, I was excited. I was like, "Holy shit!" Even though I think it had its lows, but I didn't think it was going to be this low with this trade. And it's just what I see right now. And I think we're going to watch it. And I think Russell Westbrook's going to be doing his same drive to the basket, like lean in, what he's been doing forever. And I think that's it. And, we got the classic LeBron's trying to pass the torch to Anthony Davis quote for like the past 3 years now. So I'm not that, I don't know. Lakers aren't anything. I mean, they have LeBron James, but there's just so many things around this team that I just hate, if I'm
They
being
have the
quite honest.
facilities to be a very great offense, like just a top tier offense. But the great teams, the really good teams, are teams that are good defensively, and that's the whole point of why they brought in Darvin Ham. But they don't have the defensive personnel. Anthony Davis, unless something drastically changes in his mindset, has never been willing to go be the guy on the interior, be the defensive force. Not with the Lakers, at least. He's been wanting to be on the outside, a power forward, change his game so he doesn't get hurt, but like it's not working. He's still getting hurt in the power forward position. So unless Anthony Davis is able to flip and do that, and they're able to get a lot out of these role players, who I don't think Kendrick Nunn's a good defensive player. Who is the
They
Damian
have Lonnie
Jones?
Walker. Like they
Lonnie
just brought in
Walker
a
is not
whole bunch
a
of
great defensive player. Damian
yeah.
Jones is not a good rim protector. They don't have the role players, and that's what it comes down to. Like, to be a great defensive team, all 10 guys that are playing on the floor have to be bought in. 9 guys if you want to shorten the rotation to 9, or 11 if you want to extend it. But everybody that's playing has to be bought in and playing good on both sides of the ball. And they just don't have the guys that are able to do that. Like Dennis Schroeder has been a minus defensively for pretty much every season of his career. And with the Lakers, he was a minus defensively. They brought him back. Like,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
supposed to
trust
be a
this.
big deal. Like,
No, I just don't trust this roster at all. I love LeBron. I love Anthony Davis in spurts, but there's not enough on this roster for me to be convinced until I actually see something change again with the role players, because we know what LeBron and AD are.
I just think you had a good point with the defensive liabilities. They don't have any good off-ball shooting either. Like that's where the two things that they really lack, in my opinion, and especially
And
in
that's
the
what they
NBA
had in
now.
their championship year.
Yeah, they had exactly. They had
Caruso,
the vets that they
3-and-D
needed.
players. 3-and-D players is all they need. 3-and-D wings like Caruso, like KCP, who was very underrated during that
And he
season.
got that contract.
Danny Green was another one. Like there are so many 3-and-D wings, and they're not hard to find in the NBA. They're really not. But a lot of teams just kind of like, I don't know, the Lakers really just don't care. They
They
did
did
it
it
one year at
right.
work, and then they moved on from it.
Yeah, and they say never mind. They panicked too, because that was the year. The year after was they still had Kyle Kuzma and everything, and then they traded the whole package for Russell Westbrook. It was KCP, Trez. They had Montrezl Harrell that one year.
Trez.
Yeah, like I remember I was like, damn, that was a good ass signing. And then like nothing happened out of that. So Lakers are right now, I'm saying right now, I mean, I still think they're gonna make one more move if LeBron comes to them and says do it. That's how I'm looking at it. But if they stay with this roster right now, I mean, I definitely wouldn't bet on them to do anything, but seventh seed, eighth, ninth. That's what I'm expecting. They're playing team to me right now, just because of the fact that Anthony Davis, as much as I see it and as much as I want it to happen, he's never going to play like majority of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think that's a crazy assumption to make, but I like to be more optimistic when I'm talking about players' injuries. It makes for, I know it's not as realistic and it lets you down more, but it's more positive, I guess. I hope he doesn't.
I mean,
that's all I'm saying. Like
me neither. But I just look at his. I mean, literally his past 4 years, 56 games, 62, which isn't terrible, I guess. But then 36 and 40. I mean, like the 2 years before it was 75 and 75, and I mean, nevertheless, he was 23 years.
That's why I kind of like want to be like or not even confident, because I'm not confident at all, but about him
optimistic.
Optimistic, yeah. I want to be optimistic that he can get back to that. I mean, we've seen Anthony Davis play a bruising role as a center and play for full season twice. Like we've seen it. It's just not been recent. And a couple of those injuries have been a little bit fluky. Like the arm injury was whatever, and it was a shoulder. Like those kind of things you're able to fix, but the foot injury, I should say. I'm looking at
the shoe injury.
I'm looking at the ESPN body report, so it's got the shoe symbol there. But anyway, that injury worries me a lot more because he's a big man, and 7-footers that have foot problems don't tend to recover that well. So maybe there isn't as much to be optimistic about. I'm looking at his injury report here.
As you said, around 28 years old, and he's 28 years old. So I mean,
he plays a bit differently though. He has a bit of a nuanced game for a big, instead of like a Clint Capella guy who's more of a bruiser athlete. So
he should change that up then, because the man has to play more games. I'm excited to see his role this year with Ham, though. Apparently, that was another big thing that Ham has been stressing at camp, is the fact that he wants. I mean, I get it though. He wants Anthony Davis to be the focal point of the defense, and if they can do that and they can do it effectively, then I'll be a little more balled in on the Lakers, I guess. But I have to see it first, if I'm being completely honest. As you said, they don't really have the like that guy. I mean, I like Patrick Beverly. I like some of the characters on the team, but would I put $10 on them to win the NBA championship? No. And that's just basically like how I look at it. I would not bet on this team to win it. But enough basketball talk today, enough Lakers talk today. We'll have a lot of that for the NBA season, which is literally like 14 days away, which is fucking awesome because pretty soon we're going to be having prime MLB playoff games like the ALCS. We're going to be having, football, like, because that's just what it's going on right now. And then we're going to have opening day basketball. We're going to be right into that. A lot of really cool storylines this year, and I am all in for it. So, Chase, you have anything else to comment for today?
Not at all.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Make sure to follow us on all socials on Twitter, Instagram. We have Chris at CCSN on Twitter and then Chase at CCSN on Twitter. Best place to interact with us, share ideas, thoughts, and comment below if you have anything that we should talk about or you want us to talk about. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.